Hey everybody, welcome to Performance Anxiety. Thank you so much for tuning in and continuing to listen. Today's episode features a legacy bassist who's earned all of his success. Jack Bates began his career playing in Peter Hook and the Light. Peter Hook is the bassist for both Joy Division and New Order. Jack is his son, and his career has consisted of playing 3-hour shows ever since. He now plays bass for the Smashing Pumpkins. He tells us what it's like to grow up playing bass when your dad is a legend on the instrument. He also discusses how he met Billy Corgan and how he began playing for the Pumpkins. Give him a follow on Instagram at jackbates_music because he's been going live once a week with his dad and they're hilarious together. Follow us at Performance ANX. And you know what else you gotta do. Subscribe, rate, review, and share. And enjoy this theme song because Jack wrote it. Thanks, Jack.
Alright. Hey, this is Jack Bates. I play bass for Peter Hook and the Light and Smashing Pumpkins. And you are listening to Performance Anxiety. I chat with Mark, so enjoy.
Good. We are all set on about as far as technical issues as I go. Can you hear me? Yeah, I can hear you. Good. We're all set. All right.
That's all we need, man.
Exactly. So how you doing today, man?
Yeah, not bad. Just a typical lazy Sunday. Just finished doing my laundry. Just not very interesting, but that's life.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sitting here in my front room of my house, looking out a window on an overcast day, but it's it's a nicely overcast day.
Yeah, it's pretty grey here, which is usually the norm from Manchester.
Yeah,
I gotta say. So, it's been weird because obviously with the lockdown, everyone's staying at home, and during that time the weather's been amazing, which is just totally out of character for Manchester.
Of course,
and it's sort of made the whole thing even more difficult. But then over the last couple of weeks, the weather's sort of gone back to being shit, and I think a lot of people are sort of breathing a sigh of relief.
All right, we're back to normal.
Yeah, well, it just makes it less annoying to have to stay in.
You know, I know the UK has been hit pretty hard, and my area, it's weird. We haven't really been. I'm in Virginia, and my area of Virginia hasn't been hit really very hard. I'm about 75 miles west of DC, and I guess that's about it's as far as you need to go because it's not rampant here. I mean, there's a few cases, but I'll tell you what, they've done some pretty severe shutdowns here. Like my kids haven't been in school for 2.5 months, something like that.
Yeah. So are you having to homeschool?
No, that's the weird thing. They kind of. I'm in a area where I'm very close to the West Virginia border, and once you kind of hit that border, things get pretty rural, and they can't guarantee the internet coverage on the edge of the county close to the West Virginia border, and so so what they can't guarantee that everybody on that end of the county has fast enough internet to get the work done. And so they've just decided the teachers are going to post work up for your kids, but it's not going to be graded. It's they would like them.
I guess they're just trying to get something out there.
Yeah, exactly. So they're just kind of averaging the kids' grades for the first semester, and what they did the second half of the year, what they were able to complete, and that's kind of going to be their grades for the year. But they're not doing any schoolwork. I mean, I know a lot of people, a lot of friends in New Jersey, and a lot of friends in other areas of Virginia are having to online school. But in my case,
I know quite a lot of people in the States, obviously in various states, and it seems like everyone is dealing with it differently.
Yeah, exactly. There's no real uniform plan, and that on kind of the way the country works, it's a bunch of separate states. So, and even within those states, the counties are different. So it's pretty wild. It's kind of like the Wild West again. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's been pretty bad here. I mean, I think we're well past the worst of it at the moment.
Yeah.
It is on the way down day by day, but even then, it's like I was watching the news yesterday, and they seemed like they were buzzing that only 150 people died today. It's like there's still 150 people.
I know
I just sort of. I mean, it was really sad. About 6 weeks ago, I actually lost my granddad to the virus, which was sad for us. No, it's cool. Everyone's dealing with it the best we can, but
yeah.
It's just like every time I see the number, it just sort of reminds me, like, that's so many people going through what we went through, which is really bad, and we weren't even allowed to have like a proper service for him. It was bad.
I know the feeling. Not personally, but a friend of mine from high school that I've kind of kept in touch with on and off, lost both his parents within a week of each other to the virus. They were both not in the best of health, so they were highly susceptible, and they live in New York City. So, they're in the...
Yeah, New York was a real hotspot, wasn't it?
Yeah, and being highly susceptible, it was
pretty much the same in my granddad's case, because he was 89, had a few health problems, but he actually had to go into hospital for something completely unrelated. I think that the protocol at the time was when you get admitted to hospital, they test you anyway. So he tested negative, so we were all really happy about that. And then, because of the time that he had to spend in there for clearing up this other thing that he had going on, he caught it in the meantime. So it was, it was pretty rough. But I mean, yeah. So fortunately, we're past the peak, as they keep calling it. Yeah. But I think they've started lifting a few of the restrictions now in the UK, or in England anyway. I'm not sure about the rest of the UK. But I'm just sort of continuing with my own self-imposed lockdown. If I don't have to go out, I'm not going out.
Yeah, it's funny. I'm trying to keep my kids busy doing projects and stuff. My son just kind of took it upon himself yesterday, which was amazing, to completely wash the upstairs bathroom, clean it from top to bottom. That's how bored he was.
Something to do.
Yeah, fortunately, I just got a project for the both of us to do. So, and this is a complete tangent, but I don't care. This is my show. I do whatever the fuck I want.
There you go, man. So, rules.
Yeah. So a few weeks ago, I had several weeks ago, I had the owner of ZVEX Effects pedals on, Zachary Vex. And I just released it a couple of weeks ago, and we were talking, and I've always wanted one or two of his pedals, but they're one of those boutique pedals, and they're not cheap. Yeah, they're not cheap. So I was like, but I've wanted one there's this one I wanted called the Machine for like 12 years. I saw a YouTube, it's a YouTube demo on it, like literally 12 years ago, and I'm like, that's amazing. One of these days I'm going to get it, because I play guitar terribly. I'm basically self-taught, and I just make a lot of noise, but I like to make noise. So this pedal will help to do that. It's a distortion type of pedal, and the way normal distortion pedals work, on the sine wave, the distortion hits on the peak and the trough of the sine wave, and in the middle, your speaker's just kind of coasting and not doing anything, and it's not actually distorting. What this pedal does is it makes it distort in the middle. And so you get you get all these really weird noises and distortion, crunchiness. It's just it's a little unpredictable, but it's really awesome.
It sounds fun.
Oh, it's a blast. It's called the Machine. So I was talking to him about it, and we got onto some of his other pedals, obviously. And he's got this one called the Invento Box, and it's a pedal that you kind of build yourself. It's got like 15 knobs on it, and it's got a breadboard for the circuitry. So what it means is it's just a blank circuit board, and the circuitry for, I think, 3 different pedals comes with it, and you can wire it up.
Right.
And you can kind of he said the whole idea was that he would make available some other circuitry for some of his other pedals, and hopefully some third parties would maybe make their own that you could do and make your own really interesting pedal. And
yeah, that sounds cool, man.
Yeah. So I'm like,
I love all those crazy pedals.
Oh, yeah, it's amazing. And so he's like, yeah, that was the whole idea. But it's kind of like, it came across as like a father-son project that he wanted to sell. And he said it just never really caught on. So he's like, I want to get one of those. He's like, look, I'll tell you what, I will make you a great deal on one of those. I sold almost none of them. He's like, so I've got a ton of them still.
Wow.
I'm like, all right, let's do this. So I'll get the machine and this Invento box. And what kind of price can you give me on that? He's like, all right, I'll make you a great deal. I got a demo that we used in a bunch of videos of the machine, and I'll make a hell of a deal on the Invento box because I just want to get rid of some of them.
Oh, nice.
So they came in the other day, and I've been playing with the machine, and so now my son loves electronics. It's so funny. His big thing is to go on like eBay and look up old TVs. He loves old TVs. He loves to take them apart, and fix them. And he's 16.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he's 16 years old. And
wow, that's cool.
And he takes them apart and fixes the cathode ray tubes and does all this other stuff. It's just, and then they work better. And it's so he loves this electronics stuff that
So you've got a budding engineer in the house.
That's what I'm telling him. He's kind of like, oh, I'd love to repair old TVs. I'm like, no. Go beyond that. Design the TVs. Design the stuff that goes into them. So I'm trying to nourish, encourage this, and push him in a more lucrative direction than opening a TV repair shop that nobody's going to go to because nobody repairs TVs anymore except for him.
Right.
So the whole point of this long story is that we got this thing and it's a really wild. It's an enormous pedal, but that's one of the projects I'm going to have him do during this whole lockdown is to get. The two of us are going to start this afternoon, and we're going to start putting this thing together and hopefully have a really wild pedal board for him because he knows how to play guitar, but that's not his passion.
Right.
He's in band. He's in school band, but he plays the tuba. So actually, all three of my kids are in the band. I got a trumpeter, a tuba player, and a French horn.
Wow, so you can start your own family brass band.
Oh, dude, it's a racket here. It's crazy. It's nothing but a cacophony when they get going. But
nice.
All right, well, I'm going to take a couple of my sip of my coffee here, and
it's early, isn't it?
and we'll get going. Yeah, it's about 8:15, so I'd be up anyway, but I'd still be sipping on my coffee at this point. So
cool.
So I'll be doing that throughout this show. But
I got my tea. So
all right,
I'm joining you.
Oh, excellent. Well, thanks again for doing this, man. It was really awesome when you said you agreed to come on. It was that was really cool. I really do appreciate it. Yeah,
no worries, man. Thanks for the invite. I mean, it was weird because I hadn't heard of your podcast until you
did a lot of people have
the Lanigan episode.
Yeah, not a lot of people have.
And so when I heard that, I listened to the episode with Mark Lanigan. And I thought, oh, that's cool. And then I was going through your sort of, because I noticed that was it 100th or 150th?
100th,
one?
Yeah.
100th one. So then I was looking through sort of the back catalogue, and I was just like, oh, Scarlet Page, that's cool. And then, Bruce Pavitt, Alan Johannes. And then I started listening to a few of those. And then literally a week later, got the message from you. So that was weird.
Oh, that's awesome. I love when I hear that because, doing this, I just don't exactly know who's willing to go into the back catalog a little bit. I'll get people that this is a great interview, and okay, well, this is episode number 97. Go back and check, go see who you like. I had one of the two of the biggest shows I've had were Mark Lanigan and Michael Girard from Swans. And so I've had a lot of people related to those guys on. I've had people who played in Swans and people who related to Mark Lanigan, like Alan Johannes and all. And go back and listen, go look. You might find other people.
Yeah, totally. I mean, Alan in particular that was an interesting episode just because he's such an interesting guy.
Oh, he is, and
even if you take out like the fact that he's worked with a ton of bands and got his own cool, back catalog of his own.
Oh yeah.
Even if you take all that out, just his story about like coming from Chile and via Germany or whatever it was.
Yeah.
It was cool.
Yeah, exactly. And then ending up in LA.
Yeah.
And it's now he's been back in Chile for a while, ever since the virus hit. So
yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
So and one of the cool things about this show is that a lot of times I'd like to say that most people have a good time doing this show, and so they don't mind staying in touch. And I do other shows where former guests will come back on and we'll do something that's completely different. Like I said before, I'm glad you enjoyed the episodes. I'm really glad you decided to come on, and I wanted to find out a little bit more because your background, the way you got into music, is a lot different from a lot of guests I've had on.
Right.
Not too many guests are the kids of iconic musicians. So I want to know a little bit more about how I can imagine how you got into music. I mean, it's the family business, but it's sometimes a lot of kids will rebel, but I know a lot of people will do that. Whatever your family business is, the kids will do something completely different to rebel. I mean, for you to rebel, you would have had to become an accountant, but that didn't.
I wasn't good enough at math.
So was bass playing part of your childhood? When did you start playing instruments? And did you start with bass?
Yeah, I did start with bass. Probably about age 10 or 11 when I started being interested in what all these things were that were dotted around the house.
Yeah.
I mean, at that point, it's funny because when I was born in 1989, which is like the peak of New Order, especially in the States. Like they were huge then, but they actually broke up not too long after that. I think the Republic album came out in 93.
Right.
And then I don't think they played together for like 5 or 6 years after that. So obviously I was too young to sort of remember that first bit. And then for me growing up, the bit that I remember was my dad playing in his side project band, which was called Monaco.
Okay.
They had in the late 90s, sort of 97, 98, they put out a couple albums. And obviously, while there was a lot of interest in his side project just because of who he is, it wasn't as big as New Order.
Right.
So the shows that I would see him play would sort of be in clubs and sort of things like that. I'd go to the sound check or whatever, but I'm still young at this point, so I wouldn't be allowed to stay for the gig. And then it was probably about 3 years later when I got to about 10, 11 and New Order got back together. And then I remember finding it really strange, like, oh, he's playing with a different bunch of people and the show is 20 times as big. Like, that's interesting. So I think from that perspective, that was when I started showing a bit more interest. And then I used to when I knew a couple of riffs at age 12-ish, I used to like going to the sound check so that I could play his bass really loud.
Oh, wow.
People in an arena or something.
That's awesome.
So that was always cool. And then it sort of just sort of spiraled from there. He bought me my first bass when I was 13 or 12, maybe 13. And then ever since then, that's all I've wanted to do, really.
Oh, man, that's fantastic. So when New Order kind of reformed, reunited, and started touring again, were you following them all over the place, or was it just select places that you like, local places, or were you on the road with them for a while?
When they first came back, sort of 2001-ish, because I was still a bit young, so I would probably only go to like the Manchester show or the Liverpool show. You want more of the local ones. Okay. But then as I got older, I remember when what was the name of the album? Waiting for the Siren's Call, when that came out in 2005, which is the last New Order album with my dad on it, because I was about 16 at that point, and that was old enough to sort of like go on tour. So I did that whole tour with him, which was cool. And yeah, I guess at that point it was just like, this is pretty cool. I want to do it, so I better start practicing. And then the thing that everyone always assumes is that like he must have taught you how to play bass, and he didn't, because he said to me, if I teach you, you'll just end up sounding like me.
Yeah.
So you need to, if you want to do it, you should teach yourself. And, if you want to play like me, great, but you should also learn to play in other styles. And now I can play styles that he can't play. That doesn't mean I'm a better bass player. It just, it's, you know, we just took different paths to learning the instrument.
Yeah, you want to have your own voice on the instrument. You don't want to be a clone of your dad.
Right.
So when you're growing up, obviously you're seeing and hearing Joy Division, New Order. Was that a influence on you? I mean, did you listen to other bands instead? Like, you know, was that like, oh, that's my dad's music. This is my music. That's his music, you know, and never the twain shall meet.
Right. No, I mean, I was aware of it, and I like the songs, obviously, but I was much more into heavier music when I was growing up, and so a lot of bands that I like, he doesn't like, and that's cool. But I always knew, like, you know, New Order is a cool band, and Joy Division, and it was always there, but it was only in 2010. So he actually left. Well, there is an argument as to whether he left or whether the band split.
Right. Yeah.
Still going on. So New Order finished, should we say, in 2007, I think.
Okay.
And then it was only in 2010 when he started the idea of touring on his own, which I would do with him, playing the music. It was only then, really, that New Order and Joy Division became huge for me in terms of a fan as well as playing music. But I mean, it was still always there before that.
Was that when he started with the Light? Okay.
So May the 18th, 2010. So literally 10 years ago this week was when Peter Hook and the Light started playing, and that was because at the time it had been 30 years since Ian Curtis died, the singer of Joy Division.
Yeah.
And my dad's idea was to play one show in Manchester where he would play Unknown Pleasures, the debut album. Mm-hmm. And then as a way of celebrating Ian's life, you know, rather than sort of marking his death, he sort of spins it as we're celebrating what he did in his life, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
And it just sort of all snowballed from there. I think it sold out in about it was only like a 450 capacity venue in Manchester. He really did.
Wow.
When he started doing his own thing, he really did start again at the bottom, as it were.
Oh, wow.
And we didn't know, are people going to be into it? Are people going to accept him singing the songs? And, you know, it was quite a big, wow. There was a lot to consider.
Yeah. You know, I didn't even think about that aspect of it, because to me, it would be more of Peter Hook is of Joy Division is going to be doing Joy Division. I'm there. That would be, and you know, much like you, I came to Joy Division and New Order late, just because, like, you know, it's similar to you. I was into a lot heavier music as a kid, and I had a lot of friends who were big New Order fans and Joy Division fans, and I was, no, that's not for me. I need Megadeth or Soundgarden. You know, and it's kind of funny. It's only once I started having a family that, and my kids started listening to different things. I'm like, that's interesting. And then I would actually look at that band and see, because one of the ways I find some of my favorite bands is to see who they are influenced by. And so, and my kids would listen to a band like, that's actually pretty good for a bunch of young kids. And then, okay, let's see, who did they get influenced by? And then you go on back, and then New Order pops up, Joy Division pops up, and I started listening, and like, this is a lot better than I remember.
Right.
And so, if I saw, say, you know, Joy Division, or, you know, Joy Division sung by Peter Hook, I'm in. That sounds awesome. It just seems.
I mean, it's one of those things where plenty of people did feel like that. Plenty of people didn't. So it was like, you know, he did get a lot of criticism just for the idea of it.
Wow.
You know, even though the show was for charity and it's just to celebrate the music, and just wanted to play because he hadn't played for 3 years since New Order split.
Wow.
And then, you know, some people were pretty harsh on it, but then plenty of people embraced it, and, you know, we're still doing it 10 years later.
Yeah.
It really did. That one night became 2 nights because it sold out so quickly. And then we started getting offers that summer from festivals, which was pretty nerve-wracking because we'd literally gone from playing 2 club shows to like headlining a stage at Benicassim in Barcelona.
Oh my gosh!
And it was that was only my 4th gig ever.
Oh my gosh!
So it was pretty. We really were sort of thrown into the deep end. So all of a sudden you're playing with these seasoned touring bands.
Yeah, and you know, you start off playing in front of 450 people, which for a first and second gig is still really good, to thousands of people for your 3rd gig.
Yeah, and then I remember, so that's summer 2010. We started in May. That was the summer we did some festivals. And then we got our first tour, like a headline tour, was in Australia and New Zealand that September.
Oh, wow.
Which I remember very vividly because I had my 21st birthday while I was over there.
Oh, wow.
So that was cool. and then it really did just sort of snowball from there. And I think we're up to about 640 gigs now in 10 years.
Wow.
So for someone at his age, to average more than a gig a week consistently for 10 years is kind of amazing.
That's fantastic, man. Yeah, because he's been playing music since the at least professionally,
1976.
Yeah, that's the year my brother was born.
Yeah.
And I can't say anything because I'm older than him. So I was gonna say he's old, but I'm actually older. But what's it like touring with your dad? Because I know a lot of, like, we were talking about listening to music and getting into something that your parents don't do as a form of rebellion. A lot of bands start out as a way to get out of the house and get away from your parents, but you're trapped with your dad touring, going around the world touring with him. I assume you guys have a pretty tight and strong relationship.
Oh yeah. We have a great relationship. We're really good friends, and it's actually it's fun because obviously when we're working or on tour or whatever, you know, you're always talking about the band and the shows and all that.
Yeah.
But then it's quite cool, you know, not at the moment with the lockdown, but usually every couple of weeks when the family will get together and we'll sort of make a point about not talking about all that stuff. So we can sort of remember that, you know, we are family too. That's
good. Oh man, that's really important.
Yeah. I mean, it really is. He's a really mellow, easygoing guy who's easy to work with. And, you know, at the end of the day, he just wants to go out and play. That's always been his main thing. He loves playing live. He was very frustrated towards the end of his time in New Order, just because they didn't play as much as he wanted to play. And when they did play, it would just be the same set list over and over again. And he got very frustrated with that. So doing his own thing has allowed him to right those wrongs in a way.
So a typical show for Peter Hook and the Light, it's a pretty long show. It's over 2 hours, right?
Yeah, well, it started out as quite kind of normal, sort of like 90 minutes, and then over the 10 years, we've turned it into like a 3 hour thing. I mean, the whole point behind it was to play the Joy Division album on the anniversary,
right? And
then exactly a year later, he played the second album on the anniversary, the same day again, and then the next one, and it's just gone that stuff from doing Joy Division albums. He carried that on into New Order. So all of our shows feature albums performed in full.
Wow.
Usually back to back. So we'll do when we get booked to do a Joy Division thing, we'll play Unknown Pleasures and Closer as part of the set, and then do an encore. So that turns it into like a 3 hour show.
Wow! Oh my gosh!
We'll do the same with the New Order ones as well. Like we'll play Movement alongside Power, Corruption, and Lies. So it'll be like a double header.
Oh my gosh!
It just really depends on. It just depends on what the promoters want to book. You know.
Right. Do you ever mix the two together to like maybe one will be one half of the show will be Joy Division, the other half will be New Order?
Well, it was funny because the biggest tour that we've done was the Substance tour, which was where there's a Substance album for Joy Division and New Order.
Right, yeah.
And it's kind of like a best of that sort of features the singles and all the big tunes are on it.
Okay.
So when we got to Substance in the sort of chronological sequence, which came out in 1987, the New Order one, my dad's idea was, well, let's play the Joy Division one too, and we'll just do it complete half and half show.
Wow.
Which was still, I think, about a 3-hour show. And, so it's totally split down the middle, and it was quite interesting seeing the different reactions in the crowd and that kind of thing.
Awesome.
But that was actually, I think that tour was the biggest one yet. So, because I think one of the advantages of, certainly in this day and age, when you're touring albums, people know in advance, like, I'm going to hear all the songs I want to hear.
Yeah.
It's not, there's not going to be a gray area of, are they going to play this? Are they going to play that?
Yeah.
So people know that if you come out to see my dad, he's going to play all the songs you want to hear. It's going to be a long show, and it'll be fun.
You get your money's worth for sure. 3 hours, man. Holy crap.
Yeah.
I don't care how much those tickets cost. That's worth.
Well, his big, that's another good thing about it. His thing has always been, I want to keep the ticket prices, as low as we can, and just get out there.
I love your dad.
No, he's cool, and he just enjoys it. That's the main thing.
That's fantastic, man. You both play bass on the, on stage in the band. I'd imagine that kind of allows you guys to play some of the songs that maybe they couldn't play live before then. Yeah, no, you're right. It's interesting because he can sing and play, but I think for a whole show, it would have been hard for him to sort of do that. So the idea was that if I'm going to sing it, then we need another bass player. Yeah.
So that's where I came in, and the idea being that he still plays a lot of bass in the show, but he'll take a lot of the leads and a lot of the intros and a lot of the big, we give him the show off part. And then I'll always be playing, underneath him. So
you hold it
but
down.
There are a lot. People. It's where some people can't get their head around it at first, and then when they come and see the show, they get it. It's hard to explain. Like, obviously, there's my dad's style leads to a lot of solos and lead bass, so it sort of allows you to have two basses. And when they're both going, it sounds massive.
It does. I've listened to a few of the shows and some of the clips on YouTube. It sounds amazing when the two of you guys are playing together.
It does let us play a lot of songs that New Order found difficult to play for that reason.
That's and you guys are awesome together on stage. It's kind of funny because when you're playing and there's a couple of clips where you guys are playing facing each other, and it's almost like twins up there. You guys have the same, similar basses. They're both slung kind of low, and you're both slightly crouched down playing. It's funny. It's like seeing Peter now and then 20 years ago.
He always says it's like looking in a mirror.
It's great. It almost looks like one of those shows with a hologram, except slightly better quality.
Yeah, it's funny because he always says when he wrote Unknown Pleasures, he was 21. And then when we started touring Unknown Pleasures, I was 21.
Oh, wow. I didn't even think about that.
He would sort of stand there and look over at me and get all the memories of him because I look like what he used to look like.
Oh,
and it's just,
God.
I think it was all a little weird for him at first.
That has got to be weird. I've had, when certain things happen to you, you almost feel like you're out of your own body. And I can imagine, like, if I saw my son doing what I do at his age, it would be almost like an outer body experience, but I'm actually there. That's got to be so crazy. Because writing, recording, and touring those albums was such a momentous occasion in his life that seeing a carbon copy of him doing the exact same thing has got to be kind of weird.
Yeah. I think, hopefully good weird.
Yeah, that's exactly what I meant. Yeah. You perform with Peter Hook and the Light, and then you also do all the websites and the social media. Are you still doing that for the band?
Yeah, I've
wow.
My dad doesn't really get social media. He gets the importance of it,
Right.
but especially in this day and age, he gets that we need it.
Yeah.
But if he was running it himself, I mean, he does go on there and use it occasionally, but most of the sort of admin stuff is handled by me, which sort of can turn into a full-time job sometimes.
So this whole Peter Hook and the Light, it's a pretty tight organization then.
Yeah. But there's really there's not many people involved. Yeah, I mean, there's 5 guys in the band, and then I sort of run the digital side, and then we have a management team, and then a really small crew, and an agent, and that's pretty much it.
Man, that's fantastic. It's a small organization. It's got to be pretty nimble then. So that's fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, people can't believe, we started out in really small venues, and now we're playing the same venues that huge bands play, thousands of people in America, and we still show up with just 2 crew guys, and then wow. The house guys in America will be like, "Where's your crew?" It's like, "This is it, man." We're streamlined. It's a very streamlined operation, and everyone in it has been working with my dad for years and years and years. So it really does sort of feel like I know there is family in the band, but it sort of feels like an extended family too.
Oh, that's good. That is awesome. I love hearing that. Now, how long do you get to prep for this? Like when you started doing these shows, so your first show, you were just doing the first album.
Right.
And then as it grows, is it hard to prep for all that? Because with the 2 basses and then, playing these difficult songs that the band couldn't play live when they were written, is it hard to prep for that? And how do you prep for it?
A lot of rehearsals. It's funny because when we were only playing the Joy Division catalog, it's easier in the sense that there's not a lot of electronics involved. It's more of a straight up sort of rock songs.
Right.
And then when we got to, and the first New Order album is like that too. So when we first started playing Movement, that was fine.
Okay.
But then when we got to the Power Corruption Lies, Low Life, Brotherhood albums, there's a lot more electronics involved, just because that's the direction that New Order went in.
Right. Yeah.
But that then means that you do have to start, using sequences and some backing tracks, and that becomes complicated. You sort of having to, with the Joy Division stuff, if my dad wants to let the music sort of ring a little bit and comes in a verse late, that's fine.
Yeah.
But if you do that to a New Order song where you're using sequences, everything's out. So it's almost like you have to be more disciplined with those.
Yeah, because once everything's put into a machine, into a system, a computer system, that's very precise.
Yeah, it is precise. That's the word. And it's funny because due to the way New Order ended, my dad doesn't have any access to their official, tape, whatever they'd used back in the day.
Yeah.
So we actually have a guy called Ken in Australia who's like a genius who rebuilds the songs from the ground up using the same instruments.
Oh my God.
And then sends us the tracks to play with. And
wow.
I think, I'm biased, but I think our tracks that we use sound so much better than the old ones anyway.
Oh my God.
You really, Ken Evans is called in Brisbane. He does an amazing job.
I know it was your dad playing bass for both bands, but is the approach to the bass different for the band, or is it fairly similar?
It's weird because obviously a lot of these songs haven't been played for 40 years by the time we come to play them. And the process will really start out with me learning the songs and then showing him the riffs
Oh, wow.
which is quite weird. And then he'll turn around to me and go, "I didn't play it like that." And I go, "Well, okay, let's figure it out then, because this is what I hear, and I'm trying my best." And he'll be like, "No, I played it like this." And then I go, "But that's harder to play."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Yeah, but I didn't know what that meant back then, so I just played it like that."
Oh my gosh.
So we do butt heads now and again when it comes to that, but it's always good natured.
That's wild. And it's amazing how you can hear it one way, but it's played a completely different way.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, if I can listen to those records and pick out the riffs and learn them, and then I'll just sort of play them the way I feel like it would have been played, which would be the easiest way. And then he'll say, no, I played it like this, and I'm used to playing it like that, so that's how I'm going to do it. All right. You want to play it that way? That's fine.
So how did you end up meeting up with Billy Corgan?
So it's quite a long story, but we'll go into it.
Yeah. Hey, I got nothing but time.
So in 2001, Billy actually toured with New Order for about 6 months.
I remember that.
As a touring guitar player.
I remember hearing about that, yeah.
I remember at the time, I didn't know who he was because I was only like 12.
Oh, wow.
But I remember him being there. I just wasn't clued up on his band or who he was. So it's quite remarkable now looking back at that. And it was only when I got to about probably 14-ish that I discovered the Pumpkins, and they became one of my favorite bands. And obviously at that point, sort of 2004, the Pumpkins weren't active as a band after the split. They didn't come back until 2007. So from 2007, me and my dad would go every time they play in Manchester, and we'd go and say hello and meet up and stuff.
Yeah.
And then, so it was quite natural, really. And then in 2010, when we started touring as The Light, every time we play Chicago, my dad would invite Billy to come and sing with us, which he would do. And then he did that sort of every year for 4 or 5 years, always at the Metro in Chicago. And then it just sort of, progressed from there. I guess he saw that I could play, and then he did a bass player, and he asked me to do it.
Oh, wow. Well, yeah, if he sees you're playing some crazy-ass Joy Division New Order stuff that the band couldn't even do live, and you guys are pulling it off, I'd hire you for my band, too, yeah. Man. So how did your dad feel when Billy wanted you to join the Pumpkins?
I think, he's always been proud of it, but I think he was quite worried because he's sort of thinking, what happens with my band? And over the last few years, I've really tried to balance it out where I can do everything, but obviously it's not possible.
That's going to be tough.
So it's annoyed him a few times where I've said, oh, no, I'm not available for that, or I'm not available for this. But we've had great people standing in for me the last couple of years. So it's actually once he'd played one show without me, and he saw that this can happen.
Wow, yeah.
Then it was sort of it made the whole thing a lot easier.
Oh, I can imagine. Yeah, that's
since then he's been very cool with it.
That's good because he started the whole thing with you, and I'm sure. Yeah, I can understand him being worried about that because it's not easy music to play.
No, it isn't, and it's a lot of songs to learn just because of the length of the show.
Well, and you got to do that for 2 complete sets now with Peter Hook and the Light, and now the Smashing Pumpkins, because the last tour, you guys were again playing 3+ hour shows. I mean, that's...
Yeah, 2018, on the Shiny and Oh So Bright tour, we were playing for about 3 hours and 20 minutes.
God, that's insane.
It was incredible. The set was amazing. And it wasn't even like... it didn't feel like that long because I was enjoying it so much.
All right, so I got to ask you a question. What did it feel like the first time you heard Jack Bates of the Smashing Pumpkins?
Yeah, it's still... a little bit mind-blowing. Just because, since I was about 14, they've been one of my favorite bands. So to play them now is wild, really.
yeah. I mean,
it's a dream come true. It's a dream come true.
I can only imagine because they've been one of my favorite bands since Gish came out. I mean, I was in college when Gish came out, and that whole album. Actually, the first thing I ever heard by Smashing Pumpkins, because I didn't get Gish when it initially came out. I remember seeing it in the record stores and thinking, Smashing Pumpkins, that's a weird name. And then I bought the soundtrack to the movie Singles because I was at that time I love Mother Love Bone, and I knew that they had morphed into Pearl Jam after I knew that whole backstory, and obviously big Soundgarden fan at the time, and so I'm listening. And all of a sudden, the last song on the album comes on, and I'm like, this is pretty good. Drown.
It's Drown, isn't it?
Yeah, and I'm like, this is pretty good. And then all of a sudden, the end solo comes on with all that feedback and noise, and I'm just like,
yeah, it's amazing.
This is amazing. This is the best song ever written. And I remember I was outside on the back deck of my dad's house. I don't know if I was painting the deck or cleaning something, and I just stopped and I just stood there and I just listened. And I'm like, this is incredible. And it was literally one of those moments where I'm like, everything has just changed now.
Yeah.
This is what I love. And
that's cool.
So I can only imagine playing with them now would be just, mind blowing.
It's so much fun. It's so much fun, honestly.
But so how do you prepare? Because when you started off playing, the show wasn't 3.5 hours. It was a little more of a normal length of a show, and then it's just kind of grown. Is it hard to go and learn all these songs, and does Billy tell you exactly what's going to be played, or do you have to kind of learn a whole lot?
I think for 2018, which was the big show, I think I had a list of something like 45 songs. I got sent a list. Like, we're gonna pick from these. We're not gonna play them all. We're gonna pick from it. So I just
you better know.
Well, I just thought I've got the time, and I want to show up knowing them all.
Yeah.
And that was it. So I probably spent, the tour started in May. Rehearsals started in May 2018, but I probably started in about February, just getting to know all the songs and playing them every day at home.
And then you guys will also do covers during the set, like Stairway to Heaven, Space Oddity. Sometimes he'll pull out like a Cure cover. And I know they've done Joy Division songs. Do you know those ahead of time? I mean, is it something where he's like, all right, we're going to choose from these 4 covers. We're going to play a couple of covers. Know these songs.
Well, it's funny because when I got the list, some of the covers were on it. Stairway to Heaven wasn't at the time. But like Space Oddity was. And it's weird because you sort of think, well, all right, I'll just learn the Bowie song, so at least I know the notes. But obviously, when we get into rehearsals, the Pumpkins version is different to the Bowie one.
Yeah.
So it's kind of weird with covers, because you can only do so much prep because you're going to change it anyway. Whereas it's easier to learn the Pumpkin songs.
Okay. So is there how long do you guys prep for before a show? Is it months at a time, or is it weeks?
So for the 2018 tour, we did 2 months rehearsals.
Wow.
Every day, 2 months, and it was great though, because I mean I want as long as possible, because I want to be ready. I want to be more than ready by the time we get there.
Oh yeah.
And it was, it's an arena tour. It's big. It was the first time that James Iha had been playing in the Pumpkins since 2000, so there was a lot of attention on the tour for all those reasons.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember thinking, well, 2 months, great. You know, I didn't want it to be just a week or something. So I was happy that we had all that time. And so we did 2 months rehearsals from May, and then the tour started in July, and then we went through to Christmas pretty much. And I did go home. I came home to England in the middle of it, sort of after the summer and before the autumn dates.
Okay.
And then when we went back into the end of the year shows, we only did like 2 weeks or something, just to sort of refresh, because the main part of the work had been done.
Right. And it was a shorter break, but your arms must be like Popeye. I mean, you both bands you play with play over 3 hours a night. Do you have to do anything while you're not touring, just so when you start practicing and rehearsing that your arms don't cramp up all the time?
I don't know. I mean, I just like I play every day, even if it's just for 30 minutes or an hour. And that's really the best way to stop that from happening. You just got to keep playing. I don't even think about it anymore as being abnormal. It's just normal to me to play for that long now. It was weird because the last tour we did, which was summer last year, so 2019, which was mainly festivals, and we're playing for about an hour and 20 minutes or an hour and 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And then you get to the end of it and it's just like, wow, it's over already. Crazy.
So you're kind of like, that's kind of like over prepping then. So you're like those I don't know. You're over prepping so that when you do something normal, it seems light.
Right.
So now you also do, and this is something I've always wanted to know. With the Pumpkins, you've played on a lot of television shows and some radio shows, like Jimmy Fallon, Jimmy Kimmel, Howard Stern's show. Is that I know it's a completely different environment. Is it weirder to play one or two songs in a radio station? Do you have to prep differently since it's a completely different atmosphere? It's
a lot to get your head around. I mean, for me, it was a lot to get my head around just because I'd never done it before.
Yeah.
So when we started doing that in 2018 was when we did the TV shows to get ready for that tour. It was completely new to me, so it was quite nerve-wracking. And it's weird. You're so used to playing to people, and it's just weird to have a camera in front of you. It makes you feel a bit, or it made me feel a bit sort of self-conscious and a bit more nervous.
That was what I wanted to know.
But it's cool. I mean, it's at the end of the day, it's just fun, going on the shows and meeting the hosts and hanging out there all day. It was great.
Yeah, because I always wondered about that, because technically you're performing for millions, but there's only 20 people in there at the most that you're actually playing in front of.
Yeah, it can be a bit weird. I actually preferred. It was funny because some of these TV shows do have audiences. Like when we did Jimmy Fallon, there's probably about 100 people in there. And when we did Jimmy Kimmel, it was on the outside stage, so it kind of felt like more of a gig, even though there was cameras everywhere.
Okay.
But the most fun one was probably doing Howard Stern, because literally you're in a skyscraper in the middle of Manhattan, about 40 floors up, playing at full volume with offices all around, and it was just with literally just him and Robin sat there.
Wow.
And it was just this is the weirdest but coolest thing ever.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's got to be neat, because, I know Howard and Billy have a history together. He's been going on that show for decades.
Yeah, he loves going on there.
Did you form a bond pretty quickly with Jimmy Chamberlin? Because you guys have to hold down that whole set. And I know it's a little bit different from Joy Division and New Order, because that stuff, the bass is a lot more of a lead instrument. And with the Pumpkins, you're more holding down Billy.
Yeah, it is. It's a totally different playing style for sure.
So is it
Although
pretty
not,
quickly?
not on all the songs, but it sort of is a different mindset.
Yeah.
I mean, Jimmy's amazing. I can't talk enough about how great he is, and not just on the stage, off stage as well. He's become a really, really good friend and almost like mentor. Just listening to him talk about just music is amazing. I mean, he's so dedicated. He's the most dedicated person to his instrument I think I've ever met.
Oh, I can imagine.
He's so focused on putting on such an amazing show, and it's funny, like, we play for that long, and a lot of the drums are crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
and he's like, he could play for another 3 hours. It just doesn't affect him. It's amazing. That's
amazing. I know playing the stringed instruments can be difficult for 3.5 hours, but I mean that's like running a marathon at full speed for 3.5 hours.
It's amazing. It blows me away just watching him play how he plays for that long, and he could just play the whole thing again. and it's I guess it takes some stamina, man.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's been doing it for decades. He hasn't given up even when he wasn't in the Pumpkins. So it's
Well, I mean, he can do anything. I mean, he plays a lot of jazz shows with his other band.
Oh yeah,
Jimmy Chamberlain Complex.
I love that band.
He does a lot of jazz gigs, and it's amazing.
I was gonna say, with the two different bands, is there one song that's the most difficult to play for either the Light or the Pumpkins? Is there one song you sit there and go, God, this is a tough song?
I think with my dad's band, it would be The Perfect Kiss by New Order. Mainly because the bass parts are intricate, and you're playing really high up the neck, and it doesn't feel like bass playing. It's there's a huge solo at the end. And he's playing on the very last fret on the G string, and it's crazy. It's just unlike anything else. But it's also 10 minutes long.
Yeah,
and you're playing two sequences, so there's no margin for error in terms of the arrangement. So you have to be really focused while you're playing all this difficult stuff.
Oh my God.
So the band doesn't go out with the tracks. And you're playing in 10 minutes. And then with the Pumpkins, I don't know. I mean, Shiva from Gish is hard to play.
Oh, really?
I've struggled with that one at first. Like, I've got it now, but I remember when I first saw that on the list, I was like, "Ooh, that's going to be tough," and then it was. There's a lot of them with fast bass, like really a lot faster than I'm used to playing. Some of the riffs are lightning quick. So it took some time. Like Geek USA, the bass to that is tough as well.
Yeah, and with a lot of those, you're right out there in the limelight playing it. And it blows my mind. You be playing those riffs. Like, I have to really. I'm so like, I really don't want to mess it up. So I'm so focused when I'm doing it that I don't even realize sometimes what's going on around me. That makes sense. It's when you said the shows just seem to fly by, even though they're 3.5 hours long. That makes sense now.
Yeah.
And you're sitting there focused and concentrating, man. I can see that. Now, when you're not playing with these two iconic bands, do you have your own music that you work on, or is there a band that you play with, or are you just happy for some time off?
So I'm always writing ideas and riffs at home, but I don't have like my own band, so to speak. And I guess especially at the moment with everybody being stuck inside, really all I'm doing is just recording my own little ideas for whenever, for whatever I might use them for in the future. But,
oh man, you need to hook up with somebody, send them that stuff so they can work on it. You can Dropbox it to each other.
Yeah. I mean, I've got plenty of stuff sitting there that I can dust off when the time is right. But at the moment, I'm just enjoying just writing the odd thing, and if it goes somewhere one day, great. If it doesn't, then that's cool. I mean, it's one of those things where I would probably love to have my own band here in Manchester, but because I'm touring usually so much, it just makes the whole thing impossible.
Yeah.
We played our last show on the 31st of August. So that was 8 months ago. So at this point, it's the longest time I've had off in 10 years.
Oh my gosh, I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, see, now it's time for, I can see why some ideas are bubbling up then.
Yeah, exactly. Starting to get a bit tetchy now.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows how long this is going to go on for? But
yeah,
the main thing for me is just I gotta keep playing, even if it's just a little bit every day.
Well,
just to try and keep it loose.
If you end up playing with your own band, doing a normal set is going to be nothing. You're going to have to come up with 3.5 hours worth of music just so it feels normal for you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're right.
Man, look, I've kept you for a while. I really do thank you so much. Like I said, Smashing Pumpkins has been just a presence in my life since college. So my late
Same as me.
Yeah. I'm a little older than you, though.
Right.
So to have an official Pumpkin on the show, it really is amazing to me, and it means almost as much to me as hearing your name with the Pumpkins. So thank you so much for all this time. It's been a great opportunity. It's been a blast talking to you and learning about how you managed to play for 3.5 hours on a regular basis. It's just, that blows my mind.
Yeah, I mean, it sort of it's weird. Like when you get the list of songs or whatever, it feels really daunting at first.
It looks really daunting.
And it is quite daunting. But then once you get into it, it just becomes fun, and I enjoy it. I enjoy playing with both bands so much that I wish we could play for longer, as I just love doing it. And now, when you're in the position of not being able to play, you sort of feel bad about any time you've ever moaned about playing a long show. Because now you can't play any shows.
That's a good point, man. Do you, when you're playing live, and like I said, I didn't get a chance to see the Pumpkins the last tour.
Right.
Do you get a base solo, or do you get a chance to take the spotlight? Or
No. I mean, I don't want to detract from anything else that's going on. So I'm happy just to do my job and allow our three brilliant guitar players and our brilliant drummer to take the rightful spotlight. I mean, those guys are amazing players. I mean, we talked about Jimmy.
Yeah.
It's just incredible. But Jeff and Billy and James are all incredible, unique guitar players. And it's interesting to sort of watch the three of them figure out how they're going to play songs in this sort of relatively new 3-guitar lineup.
So that made me think for a second here. And is it difficult sometimes when you're on stage to concentrate when you've got James Ehobb, Billy Corgan, and Jeff Schrader on there, just going nuts, and on a song like Drown.
I love it as a fan. It's like the dream.
You've got the best seat in the house for sure.
I totally do. I look to my left and I get to watch the greatest drummer of all time, probably.
Yeah.
And then I get to look in front of me and I see three of the greatest guitar players. So it's like,
that's the thing.
It's the front row seat to a great 3 hours.
To me, I would almost not have to. How am I trying to say this? I would almost have to force myself to not pay attention to them, because I would just be sitting there staring at them playing the entire time. It's because I grew up a fan like that. That would be very. It would be like the best seat in the house, and at the times one of the most difficult things for me to do because I would just want to sit there and watch and listen.
Right. Exactly.
So is it?
Yeah, I'm just the fan that gets to go to every show.
Does the set list? Yeah, man, I envy you on that one. Does the set list change much when you guys are doing a 3.5 hour long show?
It hasn't been recently, just because the show we did in 2018 was the production was really amazing. It really told a story. So the set didn't change that much, which is cool actually, because you can really get to grips with the songs. You're not going to play one and then not play it for a month, and then it might reappear again, and you're playing it not as well as you could.
That's a good point.
So it's cool. It's cool that it stays quite rigid, just because it gives you a chance to play them as well as you can, which I like doing.
Yeah.
I mean, my dad's shows, we do like to sort of throw some curveballs in now and again, which keeps you on your toes.
And which, as a fan, I love.
As a rule, I prefer it as a rule to not change things that much. Like if you've got a set that works, I prefer to stick to it, but that's just me.
And I imagine it would give you a chance to really start to explore those songs a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, I think sometimes maybe people who aren't musicians might think, oh, playing the same song every night must get boring. But it really doesn't, because the more you play the song, the more you get into it, and the more you find out about it, and the more it changes.
Yeah, exactly.
It's quite interesting.
The songs can grow and expand and take on a whole different life live.
Yeah, exactly. So I have no complaints to not changing the set. I think it makes the show better.
Now, the one of the cool things I saw in looking at the set list is that the show really touches on almost every album. I mean, I think the Monument to an Elegy and Oceania. Were there any songs from those two albums?
On the last tour, so in 2019, we played a couple of songs from Monuments.
Okay.
I don't think we played anything off Oceania.
But like all the all the albums from Gish up through Zeitgeist were
everything included. Yeah, it was great. I mean, the thing with the 2018 tour, the idea behind that was to focus really on the first 5 albums.
Yeah.
So the set was built from the sort of 1990 to 2000 era, and then last year's tour, some of the more recent ones were added. Like we played Super Christ, which is a cut from the Zeitgeist era.
Yeah.
And we played Tiberius from Monuments.
Okay.
So it really did, even last year, even though the sets were shorter because it was festivals, they were still playing things from the whole career, which is great. And as a fan, that's the perfect situation.
Yeah, exactly. Because I don't want it to be a retro show. I don't want it to be an oldies show.
Yeah.
But I do want them to play some of those older songs, and they,
even on the 2018 tour, where it was built around the first 5 albums, we would still close with Solara, which is from the latest record.
Right. Yeah.
So there was always that sort of nod to what's going on at the moment, and Billy's always writing. He never stops writing, and he's really prolific, and he just writes amazing tunes. So long may that continue. That's
amazing. See, I'm a completist, and it all started for me with Led Zeppelin, but as soon as I started really getting into the Pumpkins, and I like to go and find everything. Like Billy to me is such an amazing guitarist, and he's such a creative and has such a unique sound. I'm trying to, I want everything that he's done, like Jimmy Page to me. I mean,
right.
If Jimmy Page belches on a record, I want it. So it's the same with Billy. And, I would go out, and I don't know if I should say this to band members at this point, but I would go and find all the bootlegs I could with something unusual on it.
Right.
And now, especially studio stuff. And when the remaster started coming out, I was picking those up. I don't have them all yet, but I would love to pick through and find all the B-sides and the demos that he put on and the unreleased songs. And when you're telling me now that he's just writing, it's kind of giving me that itch, like, oh God, I want to hear it. I want to hear whatever the hell he's writing. I want to hear it.
Yeah. No, I mean, his body of work is so big and the quality is maintained throughout.
Yeah, and not just with the Pumpkins. I mean, his solo stuff, Zwan. I love Zwan. And man, it's making me want to go out and pull these albums out again. And all the boots that I got to. I've got like behind. Well, you can't see because we're not doing video. But behind me, there's boxes with about 3,500 CDs. And
oh, nice.
And I'd say a good chunk of those are Billy Corgan and or Jimmy Page stuff. So
cool. That is cool. I mean, my house is the same. I got all my records.
Well, you need them for research. You can probably write those off on your taxes. It's all research.
Right. Yeah. We can claim it's research. Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, it was funny because I've got a huge vinyl collection that I've started growing over the last few years.
Oh, really?
And then this week I got the first vinyl record with me on it, which was really cool.
Oh,
when the new Mark Lanegan record came out.
Oh, that's okay. That's awesome.
Lord, give me some ketamine so I can feel alright, to plant my flag on distant shores and take me through the night. 'Cause if I had...
So that was a really cool moment because I mean, Peter Hook and the Light have put out a series of live albums on vinyl, so I have played on a vinyl record, but this was the first sort of studio thing with me on bass, so that was really cool.
That's fantastic. Oh man, that's got to be kind of mind-blowing. You know, hearing Jack Bates of the Smashing Pumpkins, finding Jack Bates on the credits of a Mark Lanegan album. I mean, that's
well, again, as I said before, it's just dream come true territory.
Man, that's amazing. So what are you listening to nowadays? What kind of, when you're not playing, or do you listen to a lot of music? Because I've had people on the show that say once, like I had Michael Gira on, and he's like, once I'm done playing, he's like, I don't listen to music.
Right. So, no, I listen to a lot of music. I'd rather sit around listening to music than sitting around watching TV. I just find it a bit more, I don't know, a bit more interesting.
So who's your new favorites?
You know what? Over the last sort of 18 months, I've been listening to Morphine a lot, which is a band that I never really got into, even though I liked all those 90s bands and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Over the last 18 months, at the end of 2019, you know, Spotify gives you that thing where it's like, here's all the shit you've been listening to in order or whatever of how many listens. And obviously the Pumpkins are at the top just from all the practicing.
Right, yeah.
Right. But then the second thing was Morphine. I was like, wow, I really have been, as we say in Manchester, I've been rinsing that over the last 18 months.
That's cool, man.
So I listen to a lot of that. But over the last few weeks, I've been listening to loads of Thin Lizzy for some reason. I don't know why.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. It's
funny because one of my friends, one of mine and Jeff's friends, Britt, on Instagram, he does these, like, he's a DJ, and he does these things on Instagram Live every Sunday where he does like a metal kind of hard rock DJ set.
Oh, cool.
And it was that sort of sent me down this sort of Thin Lizzy spiral.
Oh man.
So I've been listening to a lot of old stuff recently, but again during the lockdown, it's actually been good because a lot of good new stuff has come out too.
Oh yeah.
And like the Lanegan record, I played on 4 songs, but I hadn't heard the rest of it, so I was really enjoyed listening to that. It's a great record, and Greg Dully from the Afghan Wigs put out an amazing solo album.
Oh yeah.
And there has been really good new stuff coming out too, so it's been good.
That's awesome. Thin Lizzy, man, I'm a big John Sykes fan. I love his guitar. That dude can just rip.
Yeah.
He's another guy I'd like to get on this show one of these days.
Yeah, man.
If he's listening.
Yeah. I mean, for me, just in terms of, I suppose I'm gravitated towards the bass playing, and Phil Lynnett's bass playing is unbelievable.
Oh yeah.
And the same again with Morphine. Mark Sandman, the bass player and singer from Morphine, sort of threw all the rules out the window with his 2-string slide bass.
Oh, that whole band,
which is amazing.
Every instrument in that band threw things out the window. Dana Colley was playing 2 saxophones.
Yeah, and they don't have a guitar player.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's why I like that band so much, just because it's so different to everything else I listen to.
Yeah, I got a chance to see them live once, and it was really early on. The Cure for Pain, I think, had just come out, and it was really weird because I didn't really know them, but they weren't even the band I was there to see. They were headlining. It was at the Stone Pony in Asbury Park, New Jersey. Yeah. And it was Morphine, but I was actually there because I wanted to see the opening band, 16 Horsepower.
Right.
And it's funny because I got there, rocked out to some pretty weird folk rock with 16 Horsepower, which is a weird ass band. They were amazing. If you don't know them, and if any of the listeners don't know, go back and check out 16 Horsepower.
Yeah, this is the first I've heard of them.
Oh man, they are. I can't even explain them. They're just this weird. Their music is scary. It sounds like it should be the soundtrack to an American Gothic movie.
Right. I will check it out. Yeah, I'll check it out.
Are you familiar with the band Woven Hand at all?
I'm not.
Okay. That's when 16 Horsepower broke up. The guitarist / accordion player / singer, David Eugene Edwards, started this band Woven Hand, and they take what 16 Horsepower did and they make it heavier. It's right. So if you want to hear some,
I'll put them on my list.
Yeah, I love them. Fortunately, I saw, and this is one of the coolest stories that I can think of in my own experience. I went to go see, so I saw 16 Horsepower open for Morphine, and that's what kind of won me over with Morphine, was seeing them live. And I went out and bought the album after that because I didn't have anything by them. But a couple of years later, 16 Horsepower came back around I was living in New Jersey at the time, and they were playing in Philadelphia. And this is pre-internet, so I don't know. I'm trying to think of how I figured this out. They were playing at a theater. Then the venue got changed to a bar about a block away. Right. I'm trying to remember how I found that out. I don't even know. They may have sent out a mailer or something for people who had bought tickets early. But I went to that bar, and there was a sign on the bar saying the show has been moved back to the theater. And it was 16 Horsepower opening for a band called Grant Lee Buffalo. Another really cool band, but from the 90s. So I went back to, but they said if you have, you bought your tickets, 16 Horsepower after the Grant Lee Buffalo set is going to be playing back at the bar. So if you have your ticket, just come on in, and they're going to honor their commitment to the bar. So I was like, oh shit, I'm in. So I went and I saw 16 Horsepower open for Grant Lee Buffalo, and then after that show, I went back to the bar and saw 16 Horsepower again. So I got to see 2 sets live in one night.
Oh, that's cool.
And I was all by myself in the middle of downtown Philadelphia. And that's not a place you want to be by yourself. And it was on Halloween night. So you don't want that's kind of I was scared to death to walk back to my car by myself. So but it was
I've had a few moments like that.
Yeah, exactly. So 16 Horsepower is pretty crazy. So all right, so Thin Lizzy, Morphine,
loads of Motorhead recently as well.
Man,
I don't know. Again, I don't know why. I'm just drawn back to it.
You're into some heavy stuff.
Yeah.
Some pretty hard rock and stuff. Well, look, I've kept you for a while. It's been a blast talking with you and all. And when the Pumpkins come around, I'm definitely gonna get some tickets and see you guys. And
yeah, man, just give me a shout. who knows when it'll be?
Yeah.
I mean, at the moment we're penciled in for October to tour in the US.
Oh, awesome.
Which was supposed to have happened by now. It was supposed to be April, May.
Yeah.
And they moved it to October. But I mean, who knows the way this is going, whether it's going to happen or not. But
well, hopefully things are starting to open up around in my area. So
yeah, so I mean, we're just going to have to wait and see. I don't think anybody really knows what things are going to look like in a few months. No. So we'll just have to wait and see see what happens. But I hope so. I hope it happens. I mean, we actually had a lot in for this year. We were supposed to play April, May, and then July opening for Guns N' Roses.
Oh wow!
And that tour just got postponed a couple of days ago. So
man,
I'm in the same boat as a lot of musicians at the moment, which is your diary goes from full to empty.
Yeah, I'm wide open. Which
I mean, it's trivial to complain about it in the grand scheme of things, but you know,
it's working out well for me though, because I got a lot of people open and willing to do podcasts.
Well, there you go. Yeah, it gives them something to do when they're when otherwise they'd just be doing the laundry like me.
Yeah, having a nice cup of coffee on a still overcast morning. I'm dying to see the. I mean, last time I saw the Pumpkins live was '94 at Lollapalooza.
Wow! Right. Okay.
What's been the weirdest concert experience you've had, either as a band member or in the audience?
You know what? It's always whenever I get asked that, it's always the same question. So in 2000, same answer. Sorry. So in 2014, played in Mongolia with my dad, which is undoubtedly the weirdest gig.
Wow! How is there a big Joy Division contingent in Mongolia?
Yeah, evidently, yeah. I mean, it was weird because we got the call only about 5 days before the show.
Oh,
because a band had pulled out who were headlining this festival.
Oh my gosh!
In Ulaanbaatar, in Mongolia, and then so we got asked to play because they pulled out. And I thought it was a joke at first. It was literally like, "What are you doing on Friday?" I'm like, "Nothing." He's like, "We got this offer from Mongolia." I'm like, but it was true. And then we went over there and had one of the best weekends. But I mean, it was weird, but one of the best weekends I've had on tour. It was great.
Oh man,
the show. I mean, the look on my dad's face when he was looking out at a sea of people in Mongolia wearing Joy Division t-shirts was amazing. Like, you couldn't believe it.
That's crazy.
And we don't know anybody else that's played there or been there. It feels like a really unique thing for us. It was cool, and we stayed there for like 4 days.
Oh wow!
Did all the tourist stuff, and it was cool, man. It was great.
Yeah, out of all the bootlegs I've got of all the bands, I don't think any one of them is from Mongolia.
Right, exactly. Well, it was funny because this festival had been going for 15 years at that point, so probably like 20 years now, and we were the first European band to play it. Like the bill is always just Russian and Japanese bands.
Oh my gosh!
We were the first European band to play. The guy came up to us and he was like, "I'm so sorry about the weather. It's not stopped raining for 24 hours. Usually it's like 30 degrees. It's lovely." And then I remember my dad saying to him, "Well, that's what happens when you book a band from Manchester."
You bringing the weather with you?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Man. But it was very. There was some very weird moments, but also some very memorable ones. So that was one of the best trips for sure. I would love to go back there one day, and
to play or more of a tourist.
Do more of the tourist stuff, just because it's a really interesting place and the people are lovely. So I would like to go back there.
I would love to travel a little bit more like that. And that's one of the things that I'm always jealous of touring musicians is the travel. And I've heard a lot of people say that, you know, I don't get a chance to see too much of the country because we're traveling. We're always in the bus or on the stage or in a plane and on stage. So do you ever get a chance to do more of what you did in Mongolia and take more time?
It just depends on the schedule. I mean, it's one of those things where I remember when at the end of the 2015 tour that we did with my dad, we ended the tour in Honolulu
Ooh.
we played in Hawaii, and then as soon as we got that confirmed, everyone was like, right, I will pay for my hotel. So just put my flight back by like 5 days. I need to, So sometimes you can sort of work it like that. I remember I had one of my best friends lives in Mexico, in Playa del Carmen, and my dad's biggest shows are in Mexico, so we go there quite a lot.
Oh, cool.
And I remember I had a great holiday there once after we'd finished the tour in Mexico. So you can sort of spin it sometimes where you can be like, all right, can you just delay my flight and I'll pay for my hotel and that sort of thing. But in the middle of a tour, it is hard to find the time. If you're in the middle of a tour and you've got an off day where there's something you really want to do, sometimes it's a great idea. And then when you actually get to it, you just think, I need to just stay in bed.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's not always possible.
Oh, man. Well, hopefully that'll, you continue to have some really cool tour endings. So you've got some nice places to visit.
Yeah, exactly. It's always the best thing to end a tour in somewhere you want a holiday. That's always a good tip.
Yeah, you don't want to end it in, I don't know, where would you not want to end a tour? Detroit?
You know what? I love playing in Detroit.
Damn it.
I don't know.
I thought I had you.
I suppose as a guy from Manchester, I should say I don't want to end the tour in Liverpool. I don't know. I love Liverpool too, though. So our managers are actually from Liverpool, so that's cool.
Oh, yes. All right. Well,
I'm only joking.
Yeah, we can definitely wrap up on that then. I don't want to get you in too much trouble.
All right, man.
Well, thank you so much for spending your afternoon and my morning with me. It's been great.
No worries, man. It was a pleasure.